D Xebec didn't lose at God's Valley, he was deleted, and the entity who deleted him is the exact same one currently running the world. Welcome back to the archives. Tonight's file isn't about a pirate battle, it's about a geopolitical hard drive format and the ultimate cover-up of the Grand Line. But before we begin, it's time for the receipts of the night. Look at the map of the One Piece world. Sengoku explicitly states that the God Valley vanished without a trace. Not destroyed, vanished. For years, fans assumed that it was just a casual, massive Haki clash, but the clinical analysis proves that Haki didn't vaporize landmass off a grid. If this file's already making you question the history of the Marines, and that like button is the way you can declassify the investigation for more people, let's talk about the sickening lie of Monkey D. Garp and Gold D. Roger, and why the hero of Marine is actually a pawn in a planetary cover-up. The fandom loves the shonen fantasy of God Valley. Garp and Roger team up, put their differences aside, and punch rocks so hard the island exploded. It is a great story, it really is, and completely biologically and mathematically impossible. We have seen the peak of Conqueror's Haki. We saw Roger and Whitebeard clash. It shattered the sky. It did not vaporize an island down to a tectonic plates. The world government wrote that the history books to say Garp defeated rocks because Marine punches pirate is pretty great PR. But look at what happened to the Lulusia Kingdom when Ibu wanted a problem solved. They didn't send vice admirals to have fistfights, they used an orbital, ancient weapon to systematically erase coordinations from existence. Garp didn't beat rocks. Garp and Roger just barely managed to escape the blast zone. To understand why Emu pulled the trigger, you have to look at Xebec's actual resume. Rocks wasn't trying to find the One Piece. He wasn't trying to be Pirate King. His stated goal was to be king of the world. The world government doesn't care if you steal gold or conquer a few little islands, but the second you challenge their empty throne, you stop being a criminal and start being a systematic virus. Rocks wasn't just a brute, he was an archaeologist. Sengoku confirmed rocks broke too many of the world's taboos. He figured out the void century. He mathematically saw the matrix of the world government. He went to God Valley, became the celestial dragons were hosting their sick hunting tournaments, and he intended to take them hostage. He forced Emu into a corner where the only mathematical solution was absolute scorched earth erasure. And this brings us to the surviving crew. Why does no one ever talk about rocks? You have the three future emperors of the sea on one ship and they never speak his name. The fandom thinks it's because they hated each other and the archives call it weaponized PTSD. They didn't talk about the rocks because they watched a man who was mathematically stronger than all of them get swiped out of existence by a god in the sky. Their entire psychological framework was shattered that day. But let's slow down. Look at the pinned comment below and drop your verdict. Did Garp actually know Emu was going to wipe the island, or was he just a blind pawn in a cover-up? I'll be reading the replies tonight. This brings us to the horrific shift in 𝐬𝐻𝐭's psychology. Look at how God Valley fundamentally broke them. Why did Whitebeard immediately pivot to wanting a family? Because he realized the worldly ambition is mathematically pointless when the sky can open up and delete you. He sought out the only thing Emu couldn't vaporize, genuine human connection. But Kaido's reaction is the most clinically devastating. For years, fans thought Kaido was suicidal because he was just too strong and bored. This was a massive psychological misunderstanding. Kaido wanted to die in a glorious battle because he is terrified of dying the way his captain did. Kaido saw D Xebec, the strongest man in the world, erased so thoroughly that history doesn't even remember his face. Kaido's entire obsession with building an army, a glorious death, is a trauma response. He is desperately trying to make enough noise in the world to ensure that when his time comes, he cannot be quietly swept under the rug by the merry. 𝐦𝐫EC discovered the ultimate sickening truth of the One Piece world. It isn't a free sea, it's a controlled terrarium. When an insect gets too close to a glass, the owner doesn't negotiate with it, they simply tap the glass and crush it. Emu uses the ancient weapon of God Valley wasn't an act of war, it was the ultimate admin privilege. Rocks mathematically forced the world government to format the section of a planetary hard drive, taking the celestial dragons, the slaves, and the history down with it. Garp didn't win, he just survived the system reboot. History is written by the winners, but the geograph of the Grand Line is dictated by the executioner. Rocks D Xebec dared to look at the man behind the curtain, and for his ambitions he was rewarded with the absolute mathematical non-existence. Last week we proved Shanks has been lying ever since episode 1. Tonight's file revealed the terrifying reality of what happens when you challenge the god. If the files are worth reading, the archives need more agents. Hit the subscribe because more classified intel drops every week.